welcome to the Grit City Podcast. I am Justin.
I'm eating pizza.
Yes, what is your name?
Oh, Scott.
Thank you, Jeff. With us today is a fan favorite and one of, actually, my personal favorite persons.
Gosh, thanks.
Yeah,
Wow.
Steve Dunkelberger. How you doing, buddy?
Outstanding.
Are you?
Outstanding. Spent all the weekend moving. Well, yeah. I did my Steve's Drunk History on Friday, and of course I got a little bit of the Drunky Drunks because I try to keep with the theme.
That's why it's called Drunk History.
Right. And so then I moved my all my life's possessions to a new place.
Ooh, congratulations
Sure. Yeah.
on the new place.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Right by I used to live over by Wapto Lake, which was nice, but I really wasn't there, so I really didn't care anyway.
Ooh, you know what you should do now is tell everybody where you live now.
Yeah. That would probably actually be really bad.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I live over by Tyler Center.
Oh, yep.
I can tell the address, but I don't know the address.
That's probably a good thing
So-
because, I mean, that just means more work for me editing. And we're also live streaming right now,
That's
so
probably-
I can't edit that.
to tell people, hey, I'm not home.
So, Steve, let's start off with that, with the drunk history. So,
Yeah.
you've been doing this pretty frequently now. What's been going on with the drunk history?
Well, yeah, it's it kind of started out as an accident. A friend of mine has a historic home, and I did a story about his house. And the funny story is that it's a known house. It's the Bing Crosby house.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And I did a story about his house, and he bought it not realizing that it was Bing Crosby's house. He didn't realize that until Christmas, the first year he moved in,
People
when
started
some
showing up.
UPS bus showed up and sung White Christmas to his house. And he walked up going, can I help you? Motherfucker, what are you doing in front of my house? And they're like, oh, this is where Bing Crosby was born. And it's like, oh, yeah, there's a plaque right there and everything.
We didn't even realize the plaque was there?
Read the deed a little bit.
Wow.
Explain. So anyway, and so...
That cracks me up, man. I'm sorry, but Justin just bought his house, and his house actually has blueprints. Like,
Yeah, they put our blueprints right on the wall,
yeah.
like on the, they mounted them so you could take a look at them, the original blueprints.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool. So how do you buy a house and not notice the plaque out front, right?
Yeah, right?
Well, it's on
Come
the
on now.
It's on the
Come
steps,
No,
It's
excuse
on the
there.
steps.
There's
It's
no-
on the steps.
So anyway, and then so that started into, hey, let's get together, and I've got some friends who are really interested in Tacoma history, want to learn more about it. Can you, if I buy you drinks, can you come talk about Tacoma history? I'm like, drinks, you say?
Drinks?
Okay,
Oh.
I will be there. And then they said, well, during the summer, let's do a pub crawl. And so that did the pub crawl, and I wanted to give it a name, make it public. So it became Steve's Drunk History. And then, as a one-off,
Yeah.
use Facebook as a way for people to inside our group.
Yeah.
To
Like
invite
I
people.
saw the invites, a whole bunch of those, and it was I didn't know how far-reaching it was. And
I did not know either.
How far-reaching has it been, Steve?
Well, at the end of that one, there was like, okay, when's the next one? I'm like, I have no idea.
Was that the one we went on? Was that
Yes.
Yeah.
We met at the New
the
Frontier.
wife and I? Yeah. That was so much fun, too, dude. That's why.
Yeah.
You made it too much fun.
I got pretty lit. And there was like, well, when's the next one? What's the whatever? I'm like, okay, sure, I'll do another one. And so then I did one the next month, and then Broken Spoke said, hey, a couple of bars like Broken Spoke and a couple of them said, hey, what are you doing? I said, just a pub crawl history. And like, oh, great, could we host you to do this? I'm like,
So
Yeah,
that's just how
sure.
it happened.
That's just
As
how it
you were
happened.
going through there, like it was just a stop while you were doing it. And
Yeah.
Wow.
And then one of the stops was Alma Mater, and I did the ghost stories there.
Nice.
And-
How is the alma mater? I haven't had a chance to be there, and I'm trying to get the people on, but I also need to respond to emails and that sort of thing. So I'm kind of terrible at that.
Yeah.
But how is it? Like have you been there obviously for this sort of thing? So what was your experience with it?
Oh, it was great. Well, I was on my presentation was on the honey side, and I think we brought about. I could be wrong. I think it may have been like a Friday, and it's like there, like I said, there are 40, maybe 50 people there.
Wow.
And I was like, did I do okay? It's like, this is a coffee shop, and it's from 7 to 9 o'clock. You brought in 50 people who all bought 2 or 3 drinks.
Yeah.
You did okay.
That is
And
fantastic.
then it's like, let me know when you want to come back. It's like, well, okay, I mean, we could do a regular thing, I don't want to do it like a once a week thing. I don't
not once a
maybe
week.
once a month.
I
maybe
think once a month would be a good start.
And then Broken Spoke heard about that one and said, I don't have. This was in October. You want to do one now? It's like, well, I don't have a new one prepared, but I can do the ghost stories again. They're like, that'd be great. And
yeah, just go around. I mean, there's going to be new and different people every time, so
Right,
why not? Just like.
And so it constantly draws, and the weird thing, it constantly draws anywhere between 35 and 50 people.
No way, that's impossible.
There's
There's not that many nerds out there. Come on,
It's
tell
not
us
a
the truth.
nerd thing.
And I keep asking, how did you hear about this? Like, oh, well, the bar does
Yeah.
everything. It's like,
No, it was super fun, man.
very few people are I wouldn't say few people are coming back, but there are people who've been to all of them, which I thought was weird because I don't have that many friends. But they're like, oh, I want, ghost stories in a bar, I'll do that, or
Yeah.
UFOs, I'll do that. We had a really deep in the woods MK Ultra sort of a UFO guy on
No
Friday.
way.
That was kind of fun.
Really?
Tell
like
us
just
about
to,
that.
Just to
You have to
listen,
go
like
into
just
that
to
a little.
listen to your conversation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So tell us about how that went down, man.
Well, he just showed up, and he said, "Oh yeah, I heard about this, and I wanted to invite all my friends because they're not true believers." And so I was like, "Well, I'm telling you the history of the Maury Island incident, and I don't know what this presentation you want because I'm proving that it's a hoax." So,
It's not a hoax. It was real.
sure,
It
we'll go
was
with that.
really happening.
Really happened. So that was a matter of. But then he just talked about, well, do you believe this is real? Do you believe in aliens?
Oh
Like,
no!
Okay.
It was that guy.
And we've had that conversation about Bigfoot. It's like
we got the Sasquatch
extraordinary
festivals coming.
claims require extraordinary evidence. So,
Whatever, man.
do I personally believe
That's
in something? Sure. Do I? It's kind of like religion. The basis of faith is belief without proof.
That's right.
And so, I can't knock someone for believing or not believing. That's their own personal thing. But
I hear you on that.
if you're the evidence that people are often using as evidence to sway me is not evidence to me. It's you have a preconceived notion of what is there, and I will tell you that science says that is a different.
Or essentially on that point, it's like the scientists going in with an experiment where they are looking for a specific output or
confirmation
answer.
bias.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Look at you using big words. That's like I'm glad that we have
Confirmation or bias, which is the
Conformation.
Listen, man.
It's 4 syllables. That's 6 syllables.
and it's
total.
2 words.
Yes, 2 words, 6 syllables,
That's
more than I can do
crazy.
usually by putting them together.
Let's keep things simple for our audience.
I'm
Okay?
sorry.
We don't need to keep things.
So-
Nobody needs it hard.
So tell us the story about what went down, what you talked about, the Maury
The
Island.
Maury Island incident.
Yeah.
Okay. Thumbnail sketch. Now I'm quite literally boiling 2 hours down to what?
However long you want to talk about it.
15 minutes.
Actually, you do it for a few minutes because I'm gonna eat a piece of pizza.
Okay. So, on June 21st, 1947, about 2 p.m. in the afternoon, it was a Saturday, Harold Daw was out with his boat. They were gathering kind of wayward wood in Commencement Bay that they had broken away from the mills that were down there. And what they would do during the weekends, they would gather these logs and then sell them back to the mills as kind of a finder's fee.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was out and he saw a collection of donut-shaped UFOs or flying discs,
Okay,
flying
yep.
platters in the sky.
Let's just call them extraterrestrials.
They're not.
Well, right. We'll just break that down. And one of them went and touched another one,
Ooh.
as if and he described it as if they was repairing it, and it started shooting black smoke and dropping molten stuff into the water.
Extraterrestrial babies.
Right.
Babies? Oh, so they were having
anal probe debris.
Oh.
And eat your pizza.
Wow, man, you took it dark. I went dark. I don't know what's
Eat that
happening
pizza, Scott.
Eat that chunky sausage. Which was your code name in college? Was it?
Oh.
Anyway, so
now. Chunky sauce.
I'm googling it. Anyway, so molten stuff was falling from the sky. Some of it hit the boat and damaged the boat.
Okay, yeah.
Hit his dog and killed his dog,
Hmm.
and hit his son in the shoulder with this molten stuff. So he sped to the Tacoma Marina, which is now like the Fox Waterway.
Yeah.
And took his kid to the hospital, tried to call radio for help, and the radio wouldn't work, and buried his dog at sea. Okay? As the story goes, he called his boss, who owned the boat, Fred Grissom, and he said, Fred said that he was really mad about, this damaging his boat, not thinking that it was actual flying platters.
Yeah, I don't believe your alien story, you liar. You just hurt my boat.
You just hurt my boat. And and so then he went out the next day, took the boat out, and went to Maury Island, if anyone knows about, right off Vashon Island, this little island, Maury Island, and said that he saw 20 tons of this molten stuff along the beach. So he gathered stuff around, and then he said he saw a gathering of flying saucers, and he took his camera out and tried to take a photograph, but they zipped away before.
Of course.
Something that
Makes sense, yep.
always happens.
Very fast.
Well, because they're afraid of cameras. Sorry.
Oh.
I just threw that
Actually
out.
afraid of cameras?
Yeah, you didn't know that.
Everybody knows that. Bigfoot and aliens, they have camera sensing equipment, and they run away when that stuff is out there. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So anyway, Daw and Grissom wrote a letter to Ray Palmer, who was the Fate magazine. This was the height of pulp magazines, true crime. There was men's adventure magazines. So a lot of buxom Nazis and aliens and all that.
Oh yeah, all the things that'll get you in the front door to hear everything about aliens and all the crazy stuff.
All that stuff.
All the stuff that I looked up in the library when I was in middle school.
Right.
When I wanted to become a witch.
Yeah. And this was Amazing Tales. It's Amazing Tales magazine. Now it's TALES, so not like your Amazing Tales subscription.
Oh, your furry mag guy, Scott. It's the
You guys
doggone.
are lucky my mouth's full.
I know
your
mouth's full of something.
Your Mugs and Jugs Quarterly. Yeah. So, and then a couple of days later, there was another incident with Kenneth Arnold. He was a businessman from Idaho, and he was flying around Mount Rainier, between Mount Rainier and Mount Adams. And he spotted flying things in the sky. And he said he clocked them at about 1,500 miles an hour.
Ooh.
And all his instruments went wonky and all that stuff, and realized that he had missed. He went from Mount Rainier to Mount Adams in like 7 minutes, because of the wormhole.
Lost time.
Right.
Lost time.
Right, lost time. And so that was a thing. So they were reporting, in the newspapers what they saw. They gathered their notes together. So Kenneth Arnold wrote to Ray Palmer as well. And so Ray put the two together and said, "Hey, Ken, since you've got you're a businessman, you're a pilot, why don't you interview Grissom and Dahl about their UFO sightings, and we'll get a full narrative." And he said, "Well, for Fate magazine or Amazing Tales magazine, because there were two. And at that time they were on what essentially would be the media circuit. They were in every West Coast newspaper. They were interviewed by Edward R. Murrow.
So this really caught fire.
Yes.
Well, dude, they had all that evidence. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
they had all those
They had a
people
dead dog
that
buried
saw
at
it.
sea, and
Right.
probably a
Right.
child with a shoulder injury.
Yeah, like they were shot at by UFOs. Well, extraterrestrials.
Yeah, shot at by extraterrestrial babies.
And this is where everything comes into everything you know about UFO theories and conspiracies comes from the Maury Island incident.
Oh.
So it got so big that the government had to do something because there were weeks and weeks of newspaper articles of people seeing these flying things. This is the beginning of the Cold War, so they are expecting this is a Russian invasion.
Oh God,
thing.
yeah, right.
This was secret.
Space.
This was secret space.
They've.
Stuff.
They already beat us into space, and now at this point.
Well, this is 47, so they're
not yet.
They ain't getting dick.
Oh yeah. So that's even earlier than that.
Yeah, they didn't even have spaceships yet.
No.
Well, they did. They did.
Well, they didn't yet.
Well, maybe they
We
didn't.
didn't have them yet. And
Yeah.
this was back before we had ours.
No, this is the beginning of like the Truman Doctrine, where
Okay.
the idea of the Truman Doctrine is that the Western powers will help non-Western powers avoid becoming communist countries at any cost, and that's what
Oh,
got
and
you
help
into-
out and everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what made us the first world police because we wanted to fight communism. So that was the Truman Doctrine, that we will fight you anywhere, we will fight you with everything we've got. So anyway, so that was a big scare because it was eating up a lot of resources.
Mm-hmm.
So the military had to do something. So they sent 2 people from Hamilton Army Airfield, California, up to McCord Airfield to go interview everybody at the Winthrop. Okay, and this is where the story, I'll be as brief as possible. They arrived, and they didn't want to draw attention to, as the story goes.
Yes, of course.
The story goes that they didn't want to draw attention to themselves. So they didn't want to show up in a military staff car in their uniforms. So they took a cab downtown and said, well, we'll just swap into street clothes and casual clothes. They went to Woolworths. And, of course, they got their military, the per diem, and they got the cheapest clothes they could.
Mm-hmm.
Black suits.
Yeah,
That's what
the
men
men.
So
like
the Men in Black came
started
from Maury
here.
Island incident, yes.
Wow,
Yeah, I love it.
that is
Yeah.
tight.
Yeah. Okay. So then they came and I'll
Oh,
try
keep
not
going.
to-
Just keep
okay.
going, man. Keep
So
going. I love it.
then what happened? They did their interview and they collected some of this slag the
Let's call it
evidence.
what it is.
Yeah. And the photographs, and all that stuff, and they went back to McCord Air Force Base or Army Air Corps, because that's part of the story. So they could take a flight back to Hamilton. They had to go that night because that was the first day of the Air Force separating from the Army. That's their official separation date.
Just coincidentally.
So, right.
Great.
But here's the thing. It's shortly after midnight on essentially the Air Force's birthday. The plane crashes.
Of course,
By Longview.
Yeah, because
Right.
they were carrying all the evidence.
Right.
Of course.
So the Tacoma Times reporter calls them and lets them know that the plane went down,
Oh,
and he's
man.
got a informant that
Oh.
says that it was shot down by a 20mm cannon
Jeez.
to protect the evidence being gathered.
Yep, right from the start. Right from the
Right
start,
from
the
the
cover-up
start.
starts, man. God, this is how they do it. Oh, go
Right.
ahead, Steve.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, and then what later happened is, was there space stuff on there because the official investigation said that there was secret information on there, but they didn't, of course, say what it was.
Yeah,
The
totally.
military said we have no idea. It was just a training flight because they wanted to get
That's
night
what they
flight
always
time.
say.
Oh, you know that's a lie,
Right.
We already know that's a lie. Oh, it's so much. There's so much extraterrestrial stuff on that plane, and they just blew it up.
Just blew
Extraterrestrial
it up just to
stuff.
get rid of it.
Yes.
So that sort of became problematic for the military because you had two narratives. You had one narrative that it was shot down by friendly fire, and another one was just a plane crash and doing this thing. And of course, no matter what the article mentioned, it created more stories of sightings, because that's how mass psychosis works.
Or there were actual extraterrestrials flying around investigating the ship that they shot down with all the evidence that they were here. Maybe that's it. Did you think of that? See?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. We'll go with that one. Yeah. Okay.
Mass psychosis, please.
I'm gonna let it linger for a second there. Scott, how you feeling?
I'm alright, man.
Yeah, you're feeling great. Okay, Steve, go ahead and continue.
Okay. So during the course of this investigation, another phrase. Notice I didn't use the standard 3-letter term anywhere during this discussion.
Oh, yes.
Because in the military circles, something flying around in the sky was not a UFO. Okay, dating back to the First World War with biplanes and things, they were known as FOO, Foreign Object Observed. Every time a pilot wrote on, down in his log.
Which is Foo Fighters.
Right. If it's Foreign Object Observed, if it's outside of the direct theater of action.
Mm-hmm.
It is a Foo Fighter, Foo/fighter, because if it's in a theater of operations, war zone for you civilians.
Nice.
Then it's assumed that it's a fighter because you couldn't recognize it as a friendly.
Yeah. Okay.
There are ways that you would communicate that you're a friendly, and if you didn't communicate that back, then you're a fighter, because there's no reason why you would be there, because they didn't use planes in the First World War for supplies. It was a fighter or a bomber or whatever. So they had to coin that phrase UFO in Tacoma for this incident, because it was a foreign object observed, but it wasn't recognized by military personnel, and you weren't in a war zone. So the term Foo or Foo Fighter would not apply.
It just doesn't apply at all.
It doesn't apply at all, because we're not at war with anybody at that point.
Look at that, Tacoma.
So we had to create UFO.
Wow.
That's how the story.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
I got something to say about that.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
So I read some
Support me, Jeff.
Maury Island's my favorite. And I listened to a lot of other people who talk about it. And one of the theories is that the Maury Island incident was by the government to find moles to see where the leaks were.
Right.
That they set up. Another version of that story is that the gentleman who owned the boat, his name comes up, like he worked at Hanford, and a lot of, you're talking about Majestic 12 and stuff like that. His name comes up a lot in that, where he was saying he may not have been who he said he was.
That's right. Deep state. He's
Ooh.
deep state
Right, that's
worker.
right.
I'm with you, Jeff. We're here.
Yeah.
I did not.
And I'm glad you
with
cleared
the
up
two,
that.
I think. I did
There
that.
you go. But I don't know if it was I don't believe in aliens.
What?
I mean, because as a fact that you don't know if they're interdimensional, you don't know if they're from Middle Earth, you don't know if they're us from the future.
They're all
You
just
know,
aliens.
So,
They could all just be aliens.
They all
That's
just want to
fine.
get well.
Extraterrestrials.
and the Kenneth Arnold thing, they're saying, I'm glad you cleared that up, Steve, about when Kenneth Arnold was involved with this, because people were saying that he was investigating the Maury Island incident when he was flying back to Yakima, is when he saw the UFOs.
Yeah, there's a lot of a lot of things have changed over time. Therefore, or the interpretation of facts and the creation of facts, because it is mentioned that
We like alternative
Arnold,
theories sometimes.
Arnold was a
Fuck
federal
off.
a federal marshal. And
Uh-huh.
then some stories is that he was in the National Forest Service, and that's why he was flying around. He was actually flying around to, using a private plane, he was flying around to find a downed airplane.
So he was looking for stuff anyway.
Right. And so he's just up there flying around. Why would someone from,
Why would you just
Idaho.
be flying around for no reason?
Yeah.
Which makes sense. What do you choose to believe?
Steve is on the anti-UFO.
Yeah, well...
So why would?
do it!
No, and I've been joking around, right? But why would these guys make up a story? Like, what would their reason be? Just curious. I mean, there might be a reason. Is there a reason?
Yes.
And it would be.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, the federal government came to the conclusion, and I'll wrap this up. The federal government came to the conclusion that it was a hoax because the federal agents in their black suits said, who had visited them several times, said that, well, the wife of Dawes' wife was saying, stop, wasting our time making up all these stories, and even threatening him with a knife saying, knock this stuff out.
Yikes!
Because the story was getting out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, they do that. They
The
just
agents-
stab you for
right,
no reason.
well-
Be like, stop lying, bitch.
Tacoma has always been a little stabby.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And then, the FBI agents interviewed Charles, who was supposedly hit with this molten stuff, and he had no recollection of even being on the boat, let alone being hit by molten stuff or seeing flying saucers.
Oh, so he doesn't remember any of it?
No.
Oh, like from the movie when they flash people?
Right, exactly.
Oh, okay.
And then there was no record of even having a dog, let alone the dog being hit by this slag. The slag that they sampled that survived the plane crash came from a Sarco. It's just
of
copper
course.
slag.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So,
Common slag or alien slag?
Alien
How would you
slag.
know the difference?
alien smegma.
How would you know?
Okay. Steve, disgusting.
Molten smegma.
Oh, gross.
So when they said, hey, we're just going to let this go because if you keep telling this story, then we're going to have to bust you for filing a false federal investigation report
So they
that
scared
led
him
to the
into
death
being
of
quiet.
two folks, and that's what led to the hey, knock it off, Men in Black
Nice.
stuff. Now, Chrism's name comes up later. Dahl went to Alaska because he was getting death threats and it was getting out of hand. He was seen as the UFO guy. Chrism went on to say that he had made up the first story, but really the real Maury Island story is that the government was dropping radioactive waste in Maury.
So
in
it makes
Crescent Bay.
So it makes it even worse at that point. You're like either aliens or the government's just dumping. Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. Chrism came back to become a radio disc jockey.
Awesome.
Back in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s under Dr. Gold. He was basically the deep state Glenn Beck on steroids, but at the city council level.
Oh, okay.
So he was like naming names and saying, this is what the vote is, but this is what's really
This is
going
what
on.
really happened.
That's
Oh no!
fantastic.
And
I love that.
just going off on that stuff. And he's also known. He was also referenced in connection to the JFK assassination as being one of the hobos on infamous Grassy Knoll.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, because it was.
Oh,
he
Jeff's
was-
nodding his head.
Yeah,
Jeff
see-
knows what's up.
He was.
Now he's doing the eye thing.
Yeah, and I guess
He's
he
watching
was
Steve.
in Dallas at the time, but he was promoting that fact that I was investigated as.
Yeah.
Like,
Of course he was.
To give street cred to his CIA connections. It's like,
I may or may not have assassinated the president.
right. And I was mentioned in this report.
Yeah,
I
right.
mentioned in this report because you said that you were there. So we're gonna want to talk.
And
to
we
you.
have to investigate every single
Right,
thing that
every
somebody
fucking
says.
one of-
Yeah.
You can't remember because they did the brain
Right, they did
flashy
the-
thing.
right.
You guys keep forgetting the brain flashy thing.
Because they brain flash us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit. You just brought it all back around. See what you did there.
So yeah, that is the Maury Island incident. Now, in last year, the I think the state legislature did a 70th anniversary of the Maury Island incident for Maury Island Incident Day. One of the reasons why you
Hold
don't
on, they have that? Really?
Yeah.
What day is it?
June 27th.
Oh, I love that you know that.
Yeah.
Of course I do.
Yeah, you don't know.
Scott.
Is it Merry Maury Island Day? Happy Maury Island Day?
Yeah, right. I know.
What do you do?
Yeah,
What's
spooky.
yeah?
Like, what adjective do you use?
Yeah, you want to be polite and create tradition.
Yeah, right.
There's a movie, Maury Island Incident, that kind of handles it. I mean, it's on the YouTubes and things like that. It's mentioned a lot.
Oh,
But
okay.
the reason why it's not more well known is because, 3 weeks later, the incident at Roswell happened.
Oh.
And so that
Totally just takes over.
Roswell
all
took
of
over
that.
because we created, or we, okay, I was there. The Maury Island incident kind of was feeding that whole UFO thing.
Yeah.
And then Roswell happened, and it's like, we've got a photograph, and we've got all this stuff, and then the government, the government admits that it was a flying saucer, then the next day retracts it and says,
No,
weather
it's not.
balloon.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's like, that's what fed into that whole hysteria. And the reason why you don't hear about the Maury Island incident is because Roswell, like I said, was the next one, and that just kind of fed into that whole narrative, so you remember the last big event. And that's
So, yeah.
the last big event.
And so it was, the kindling that set the log on fire, and like basically the last however many, not hundreds of years, like decades of all of this going up. And I mean, up until really recently, when everyone has a phone, it's been, I don't know, man. Some of the reports were people like even just talking about how. I think I read just like either like Scotland or Ireland or something is now researching.
Oh, it's Ireland,
yeah. And so it's just like there's still that stuff out there, and people want to know if it's out there. And it's like even like we were talking about how it could possibly be. Jeff was saying it could be anything. We don't know. This alien is an alien. It doesn't necessarily mean extraterrestrial, but it could feed into any of that. And it's that fervor, that fever that goes with it.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting that it was 46% of Americans believe that aliens have visited the United States.
And probably just drove on past.
86
Locked their doors.
86 to 89% of people believe that there's aliens somewhere out in the universe.
Which
mathematically makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, but that is just about 10% shy that believe the Earth is round. So that would suggest 5% of Americans believe that the Earth is flat.
I know, those earthers. I love it. Steve, I love this fact. I love the fact that you're doing this. I love the fact that you're doing this on a local level. People can come out to stuff. What do you have? Do you have anything set up coming up yet, or is it just kind of in the open?
No, yeah. If any bar out there or any group wants me to come by, let me know.
How can people
It all
contact you?
goes to charity.
Perfect.
So I don't get paid to do any of it.
Which charity is that?
The Knights of Pythias, of course.
Exactly.
Dun, dun, dun.
And people can go to the Pythian Temple. Is it Mondays?
Monday nights.
Monday nights. Get yourself a hot dog.
If you want a hot dog, you can get you a hot dog.
And get a tour of the great place.
Yes.
And people definitely have to go back and check out our walking tour. It's one of our earlier episodes from this year, and check that out. And how can people contact you if they want to do so?
Yeah, message me on the Facebooks. It's just Steve Dunkelberger, oddly enough. Broken Spoke has done a couple. Alma Mater has done a couple things. You can just type in Steve's Drunk History and probably would come up in events. Yeah, it's just Steve Dunkelberger, and if you want to know how to spell Dunkelberger, just remember that it's red, luck, nut backwards.
And we've got all the links up on it as well. If you go to gritcitypodcast.com, people can find all the links. So
Yeah, I've thought about setting up like a Steve's Drunk History Facebook page.
I'd be down.
Quite literally, it was just a matter of if people want me to come talk about history, I'll come talk about history.
Love it.
As long as someone covers my drinks and any money goes to charity. I don't charge. I've never charged people because if people want to learn about history, I'll tell them about that.
That's fantastic.
I do. The bars generally pay $50 just to so I know the lodge gets something or whatever.
Yeah.
Or a couple bucks. I don't care either way.
Perfect.
It all goes to someone else, not me. So.
Well, seriously, thank you for continuing to spread the information in the history of Tacoma, and it makes us very happy to do so. And I know you do stuff all over the place with stuff, so I know you've got your fingerprint definitely in Tacoma. So
Thank you.
thanks for being with us, man.
Yeah, and anyone, if you can message me if you want to know more about a particular subject. 'Cause I'm always looking for interesting or what people want to know more about history, because I'm not a history expert, but I do want to know because I know stuff.
Mhm.
So
Any chance to learn more?
Yeah, right. And I don't know what people don't know.
Exactly, and that's or what people are interested in. Or like, well, I've heard something about one of the maybe they went on a tour from one of the many tour places, and they're like, I want to learn more about this. Send you a message, and they can do that.
Yeah, sure.
Love it.
Yeah.
Steve, thank you so much, man.
Anytime.
Oh, that was good.